Georgia, the last of America's 13 colonies. Today, it's home to 11.2 million people, making it the 8th most populated state in the nation. Sounds crowded, right? But here's the twist. They're not spread evenly. 6 out of every 10 Georgians are packed into metro Atlanta, while almost 90% of the state farmland, forests, even the prime Atlantic coastline lies quiet, empty, and almost forgotten. So, what's going on? Why in a state this rich, this full of potential, does southern Georgia remain so empty, even here in 2025? Georgia's unique position in the southeastern United States means its geography plays a decisive role in how its regions are settled. Stretching farther south than Virginia or the Carolinas, and farther east than Alabama or Mississippi, Georgia stands at a crossroads of geological and cultural landscapes. Yet, despite its size and diversity, most Georgians live in just a small area, leaving southern Georgia especially empty. Northern Georgia is defined by the southern end of the Appalachian Mountains, including the scenic Blue Ridge Mountains. This region is marked by high elevations, dense forests, and numerous fast-flowing streams. The rugged land here limited early farming and continues to keep large-scale development in check. As a result, population centers remain sparse in the mountains, and much of Georgia's northern wilderness is largely untouched. Moving south, the mountains transition into the Piedmont, a belt of rolling hills stretching across central Georgia. The Piedmont offers fertile red soils that historically nourished plantations and now support the state's most vibrant economic activity. Cities like Atlanta, the state capital, and other major urban centers flourished here thanks to the region's pleasant climate, good farmland, and central location. The Piedmont remains Georgia's most densely populated region, serving as the social and commercial heart of the state. Midway through the state runs the Fall Line, a natural boundary where the Piedmont's hills meet the vast flat expanse of the southern coastal plain. Here, rivers cascade over rapids and waterfalls, once crucial for powering mills and factories, which shaped the growth of important cities like Macon, Augusta, and Columbus. These cities owe their existence to both industry and access to river navigation, marking the last major settlements before the land levels out. South of the Fall Line, the land opens into the vast coastal plain, including much of southern Georgia. This region is dominated by flat, sandy soils and features like the Okefenokee Swamp, one of North America's largest and wildest wetlands. While the coastal plain is famous for agriculture, peanuts, pecans, and peaches, the land here is less productive overall, prone to drought, and offers fewer resources for industry or dense urban growth. Swamps, poor soil, and limited transportation infrastructure historically hindered large-scale farming or manufacturing. These factors kept settlements sparse, leaving much of southern Georgia largely open and undeveloped even today. Georgia's eastern edge borders the Atlantic, with a coastline dotted by marshes, barrier islands, and the port city of Savannah. While this area is vital for trade and tourism, the coast is narrow and has not led to widespread population in southern inland areas. Georgia's rich diversity, from mountain forests to low-lying plains, means each region developed differently. The northern mountains and central Piedmont are home to most of the state's people and economic activity. Southern Georgia remains notably empty, shaped by its geography. In Georgia, where one lives is still dictated by the land beneath their feet. But the story doesn't end with the landscape. The real question is, why did some regions fill with people while others stayed nearly untouched? To truly understand why southern Georgia remains so empty, we have to turn to the patterns of population and see just how deeply geography and demographics shape the fate of a place. Georgia's landscape sets the scene, but its people bring the narrative into focus. Despite its size and diversity, the state exhibits a striking demographic imbalance. The vast majority of Georgians are concentrated in just one area, the Atlanta metropolitan region. Nearly 60% of Georgia's population, over 6.2 million people, live on a mere tenth of the state's land. The rest of Georgia, especially in the south, is marked by sparse towns, sweeping farms, and unbroken stretches of empty countryside. Why has Atlanta become so dominant? The answer is found at the crossroads of geography and economics. Atlanta is more than just Georgia's largest city. It's an economic powerhouse for the entire Southeast. This reputation has earned it the nickname the capital of the South. The city is home to an impressive lineup of corporate giants: Delta Airlines, Coca-Cola, Home Depot, UPS, CNN, Equifax, among others. These companies bring with them opportunity, a thriving job market across industries ranging from transportation to media to retail. Because business booms in Atlanta, so too does its population. Infrastructure has rapidly followed, transforming the city into a major transportation hub. Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport ranks as the busiest in the world, linking the region to global destinations. A web of major highways and an extensive rail network further support Atlanta's role, making the city highly accessible to workers and families from all directions. This accessibility hasn't just boosted the local economy, it's made Atlanta attractive to domestic migrants from smaller Georgia towns, as well as international newcomers looking for opportunity. But Atlanta's meteoric growth isn't just recent. Nearly 2 centuries ago, the city was chosen as a terminus for a key railroad line, a decision that set it apart much like Chicago experienced in the Midwest. The establishment of Atlanta as a railroad hub in the early 1800s transformed it into a commercial and transportation center. Businesses clustered around this new infrastructure, jobs multiplied, and waves of new residents kept filling the area, feeding an ongoing cycle of concentration and growth. Compare this urban burst to the rest of the state, and the contrast is vivid. Much of Georgia away from Atlanta remains thoroughly rural. Agriculture shapes the economy and daily life, especially southwest of the metro area. Northward, development faces natural barriers. Rugged mountains and thick forests limit the spread of large towns and highways. For young people in rural southern Georgia, the lure of Atlanta's schools, jobs, and bright city lights is strong, triggering waves of migration and leaving behind declining populations and shrinking local economies. Other Georgia cities have their own place. Augusta, Savannah, Columbus, Macon, Athens, and Gainesville all contribute to the state's identity. However, none command a fraction of Atlanta's influence. Augusta is the next largest, with about 611,000 residents. Savannah, a city famed for history and its busy port, has just 404,000. Columbus holds 328,000, Macon 233,000, Athens 215,000, and Gainesville 203,000. A clear hierarchy emerges. Here's the central question. Savannah came first. It's a major port with important trade and history. Why didn't Savannah or another coastal city rise to rival Atlanta? The answer, again, is geography and economic momentum. Savannah's location, though strategic for shipping, offered limited access to the rest of the state's heartland and lacked the convergence of railways and highways that elevated Atlanta. The coast remained a gateway to the Atlantic, but never the center of Georgia's growth. Thus, Georgia's demographic map is shaped by its history and terrain. Atlanta, fueled by economic opportunity and transportation links, continues to pull people and resources to its orbit. Meanwhile, much of southern Georgia remains quietly rural, wide open, sparsely populated, and very much defined by the land. But Atlanta's dominance and southern Georgia's emptiness aren't just products of geography or economics. They're shaped by key moments and choices throughout Georgia's past. To truly understand how these patterns emerged, we have to journey back in time and explore the history that set it all in motion. Long before Europeans ever imagined a colony named Georgia, this land was home to a vibrant patchwork of indigenous peoples. The ancient Mississippian culture gave rise to powerful tribes like the Creek, Cherokee, and Seminole, each with sophisticated societies built on agriculture, trade, and alliances that stretched well beyond these fertile woods and rivers. Far from leading simple lives, these communities cultivated crops, built villages, and forged networks that would later shape the state's destiny. The turning point came in the early 1700s, when Britain staked its claim to the region. Georgia, named for King George II, was the last of the original 13 colonies, founded in 1732 by James Oglethorpe and an idealistic band of settlers. Oglethorpe's dream was a refuge for London's poor, but history would have other plans. Georgia quickly became a critical outpost. a buffer against Spanish Florida, and a protector for Virginia and the Carolinas. As revolution swept through the American colonies, Georgia's strategic location and agricultural promise turned it from a reluctant outsider into a central battleground. The state's fields and rivers saw the clash between British and American forces, and in 1788, Georgia became the fourth state to join the Union, its land carved out by conflict, ambition, and the spirit of independence. Yet, in the decades that followed, Georgia's boundaries would shift again. The western reaches, lands once claimed as part of Georgia, were ceded to the Mississippi Territory, forming Alabama in 1819. The state's interior blossomed with cotton plantations, fueled by rich Piedmont soils and the drive for profit. On the coast, rice farms thrived in the marshes. The economic pull of these plantations reshaped the population, drawing thousands into slavery, even as native tribes like the Cherokee were displaced, forced westward along the tragic Trail of Tears. By the mid-1800s, Georgia was a Southern titan, entrenched in the Confederacy. Over 120,000 Georgians fought for the Confederate cause, while a few thousand joined the Union ranks. After the surrender, Georgia faced the daunting challenge of rebuilding, remaking itself from a society focused on plantations into a rising industrial power. Railroads linked Savannah to Atlanta and beyond. Factories replaced old cotton fields. New cities gathered steam. Today, Georgia's identity echoes with the choices and upheavals of its past. Its unique geography, a blend of mountains, plains, marshes, and coast, both enabled grand dreams and set sharp limits. Southern Georgia's story, in particular, was shaped not only by nature, but also by historic patterns: plantation growth, forced migration, and the rise and fall of small towns beside great estates. History, like geography and demographics, left lasting footprints. The forces that concentrated people and prosperity in Atlanta, while leaving southern Georgia open and sparse, trace back through centuries of migration, conflict, and transformation. This blend of land and legacy makes Georgia who it is, and explains why, even today, its southern reaches remain so beautifully empty. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Georgia's landscape and history, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more insightful stories about the places that shape our world. Have questions, thoughts, or your own experiences with southern Georgia? Share them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.